She yelled at the nurse in front of everyone, but came back weeks later, begging for her. Amanda Parker never imagined that one day she would need to beg for help from someone she had publicly humiliated. The successful businesswoman had always solved everything with money and influence, but now she found herself completely lost, facing a situation that was beyond her control. It all began on a Tuesday morning at Mercy General Hospital in Denver. Amanda arrived at the children's emergency room with her 8-year-old son, Ethan, who had fainted at school after an anxiety attack. The waiting room was packed with humble families who had been waiting for hours to be seen, while she expected to be called immediately because of who she was in the city. "Next, Ethan Parker," called a calm voice from the hallway. Amanda stood up quickly, holding her son's hand as he still seemed dazed. When they entered the examination room, she was met by a black nurse around 30 years old, with curly hair tied in a bun and a warm smile on her face. "Good afternoon. I'm Nurse Jasmine Williams. I'll be taking care of Ethan today," she said, crouching down to the boy's level. "Hey there, champ, how are you feeling?" Ethan, who was naturally shy, hid his face in his mother's shoulder. Amanda immediately grew irritated with the delay. "He needs to be seen right now. Where is the doctor?" she asked sharply. "Dr. Mitchell will be right in, ma'am. First, I'm going to check Ethan's vital signs and ask a few questions about what happened," Jasmine explained patiently, preparing the equipment. "Listen here," Amanda raised her voice. "My son can't wait around like all those people out there. I know the director of this hospital." Jasmine remained calm, accustomed to tense situations. She gently approached Ethan, who was watching her with curiosity. "Ethan, can I listen to your little heart?" she asked, showing the stethoscope. "Want to hear yours first?" The boy nodded timidly, and Jasmine placed the stethoscope on his small ears, positioning the end on her own wrist so he could hear the beats. "Cool, huh? Now I'm going to listen to yours," she said kindly. While Jasmine examined Ethan carefully and patiently, talking to him about his favorite cartoons to help him relax, Amanda grew increasingly impatient. She kept checking her watch and sighing loudly. "Can you hurry up? I have an important meeting in an hour," she grumbled. "I understand your concern, but it's important to do a full exam to understand what caused Ethan to faint," Jasmine replied without losing her composure. It was then that Ethan started to get agitated again. Jasmine noticed he was afraid of the needle for the blood draw and started talking to him about soccer, discovering he was a fan of the Colorado Rapids. "I'm a Rapids fan too," she said excitedly. "You know what Howard does when he gets nervous? He takes 3 deep breaths. Want to try?" Ethan smiled for the first time since arriving and began breathing along with Jasmine. The technique worked, and he didn't even notice when she drew the necessary blood. "All done, champ. You were very brave," Jasmine praised, sticking a colorful sticker on his arm. "Finally?" Amanda sighed loudly, making Ethan flinch. Dr. Mitchell entered the room at that moment, greeted the family, and quickly spoke with Jasmine about the procedures performed. After examining Ethan and reviewing the preliminary results, he explained that the boy had apparently had an anxiety attack. "I'll prescribe a mild sedative and schedule an appointment with our child psychologist," the doctor said. "Ethan needs follow-up so we can better understand these episodes." "A psychologist?" Amanda became upset. "My son doesn't have any mental problems. He just needs vitamins or something." Jasmine tried to gently explain the importance of psychological follow-up, but Amanda interrupted her abruptly. "You don't have children, do you?" she asked mockingly. "So don't try to teach me how to care for mine." "Ma'am, I was just..." Jasmine began to reply. "I don't care about your opinion. You're just a nurse. I want to speak to the director now," Amanda demanded, raising her voice even more. The aggressive tone made Ethan start to cry softly. Jasmine instinctively moved closer to him to comfort him, but Amanda pushed her away with a brusque gesture. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, "Don't touch my son," shouted Amanda. "Where do you think you are? My husband is a lawyer and will sue this hospital for negligence." Jasmine took a deep breath, trying to maintain professionalism even with her heart racing. She had witnessed many difficult situations, but rarely with such unwarranted aggression. Ma'am, I'll call Dr. Mitchell again to clarify any doubts, she said in a controlled voice. I don't want any of you near Ethan anymore. I want another professional, declared Amanda, pulling her son by the hand. Ethan resisted a little, looking back toward Jasmine with frightened eyes. The nurse discreetly waved to him, trying to convey calm. Mom, Aunt Jasmine was nice to me, whispered Ethan. She is not your aunt and she wasn't nice at all. Let's get out of here, Amanda replied dryly. Jasmine felt her chest tighten, seeing the confusion in the boy's eyes. She knew that children in anxious situations needed emotional stability, and witnessing conflicts only made things worse. Ethan, she quickly bent down before he left. Remember Howard's breathing. Use it whenever you need to, okay? The boy nodded quickly before being dragged away by his mother. Amanda left the room, stomping her feet and complaining loudly in the hallway about the incompetence of the staff. That nurse doesn't know what she's doing, she shouted for anyone to hear. What kind of professional takes so long for a simple thing? The families in the waiting room turned to look, some mothers whispering among themselves. An older lady shook her head disapprovingly at Amanda's attitude, while others seemed embarrassed by the situation. Jasmine remained in the room, organizing materials with slightly trembling hands. In her 5 years in the profession, she had learned to handle stress and pressure, but public humiliation always hurt. The nursing technician Barbara, who had worked at the hospital for 15 years, entered the room and put her hand on Jasmine's shoulder. Don't pay attention to that kind of people, dear. You did everything right with that boy, she said affectionately. It's hard not to take it personally, Barb, especially when it involves a child, admitted Jasmine, putting away the stethoscope. I saw how caring you were with him. You did more in 15 minutes than the mother probably does in weeks, commented Barbara. That boy was terrified when he arrived, and you managed to calm him down. Jasmine smiled sadly. She had always had an ease with children, perhaps from growing up caring for her younger siblings after losing her parents as a teenager. Her calling to nursing was born from that early need to care for others. Meanwhile, Amanda drove her imported car angrily through the streets of Denver, grumbling about the experience at the hospital. Ethan was quiet in the back seat, looking out the window. Mommy, why did you yell at Aunt Jasmine? He asked softly. Because she wasn't doing her job right, Amanda replied without looking back. And I told you not to call her aunt. But she was nice to me. And he taught me the Howard breathing technique, insisted Ethan. Amanda sighed in irritation. Ever since her messy divorce from Ethan's father 2 years prior, she felt like she was constantly on the defensive, trying to protect her son from everything and everyone. The stress of single-handedly running the digital marketing company she'd inherited from her father, while also being a single mother, was taking its toll. Ethan, you can't just like anyone who's nice to you. The world isn't all rainbows and sunshine, she said, stopping at the red light. I know, Mom, but why does that make you angry? Her son's innocent question caught her off guard. Amanda looked in the rearview mirror and saw Ethan's big, confused eyes. For a moment, she felt a tightness in her chest, but quickly brushed the feeling aside. Arriving home, a luxurious townhouse in the Cherry Creek neighborhood, Amanda called her personal lawyer, Mr. Richard Stevenson, to report what had happened at the hospital. Richard, I want you to file a formal complaint against that nurse. The service was terrible, and my son was exposed to an embarrassing situation, she said, pacing nervously around the living room. Amanda, are you sure you want to pursue this? It could turn into an unnecessary headache, pondered the lawyer on the other end of the line. Yes, I am. These people need to learn they can't mistreat those who pay their salaries, she stated categorically. After hanging up, Amanda poured herself a glass of white wine, even though it was only 4 in the afternoon. Lately, she needed something to calm her nerves earlier and earlier. The stress was starting to affect her sleep and her patience. Ethan went up to his room and turned on the video game, but seemed distracted. He couldn't get the kindness of Nurse Jasmine out of his head and how she had made him feel safe during the exam. At home, even with all the toys and comfort, he always felt a tension in the air. That night, Ethan had another anxiety episode. He woke up sweating with his heart racing, calling for his mother. Amanda ran to his room, worried. What is it, sweetheart? She asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I had a nightmare. I was in a new school and didn't know anyone," said Ethan, still breathless. Amanda tried to calm him down but realized she didn't quite know how. She hugged her son, but he remained agitated. It was then that Ethan started doing the breathing technique Jasmine had taught him. "Where did you learn that?" asked Amanda, curious. "Aunt Jasmine taught me." "The Howard breathing technique," replied Ethan, already calmer. Amanda felt a strange discomfort upon realizing the nurse's technique was working better than her own attempts at comfort. She stayed with Ethan until he fell asleep again, but spent the rest of the night awake, thinking. The next morning, Amanda was at the office when she received a call from Ethan's school. The principal, Principal Thompson, needed to speak with her urgently. "Mrs. Parker, Ethan had another episode today during recess. He started crying and said he couldn't breathe," explained the principal. "We're concerned about the frequency of these episodes." "He saw the doctor yesterday. Everything will be fine," replied Amanda defensively. "I understand, but perhaps he needs more specific support. We have a psychologist who—" "That won't be necessary," interrupted Amanda. "I'll handle this another way." Amanda hung up angrily and called the family's private pediatrician, Dr. Benjamin Reynolds, who practiced at a luxurious clinic in Beverly Hills. "Doctor, I need to schedule an urgent appointment for Ethan. He's having anxiety attacks," she said. "Of course, Amanda. But did you know the ideal approach would include psychological support as well?" suggested the doctor. "Everyone wants to send my son to a psychologist. He just needs the right medication," she replied impatiently. Dr. Benjamin scheduled the appointment for late afternoon. During the appointment, he examined Ethan carefully and spoke with Amanda about the history of the episodes. "The episode started about 6 months ago after the school change," explained Amanda. "I enrolled him in a more demanding school with better education." "And how did Ethan react to the change?" asked the doctor. "At first he complained a little, but children adapt to anything," she said, fiddling with her phone. Dr. Benjamin observed Ethan, who was too quiet for an 8-year-old boy. When he tried to talk to him about school and friends, the boy responded with monosyllables, always looking at his mother before speaking. "Ethan, do you like your new school?" the doctor asked gently. It's good," he replied softly. "And do you have friends there?" Ethan hesitated, looking at Amanda. "A few," he murmured. The doctor prescribed a mild anti-anxiety medication and again recommended psychological follow-up, but Amanda said she would think about it. On the way back home, Ethan was quieter than usual. Amanda tried to cheer him up by talking about an amusement park they could visit over the weekend, but he just nodded without enthusiasm. That night, while Ethan slept, Amanda poured herself another glass of wine and opened her laptop to work. She had several important projects at the company, but was having trouble concentrating. Dr. Benjamin's words about psychological follow-up echoed in her mind. She started researching childhood anxiety online and came across articles that talked about the importance of emotional support and stability in the family environment. One of the texts mentioned that children of divorced parents were more likely to develop anxiety. "Nonsense," she murmured, closing the laptop. "Ethan has everything he needs." But deep down, a small seed of doubt began to sprout. Amanda had always believed that money and material comfort were enough to ensure her son's happiness. The idea that he might be suffering emotionally bothered her. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. The following days passed relatively calmly until, on a Thursday afternoon, Amanda received a desperate call from the school. Ethan had fainted again, this time during physical education class. "Mrs. Parker, we called an ambulance. Ethan was taken to Mercy General Hospital," informed the principal, visibly concerned. Amanda's heart raced. She dropped everything at the office and rushed to the hospital, arriving in a state of panic. In the emergency room, she desperately searched for information about her son. "My son, Ethan Parker, was brought from the school," she said breathlessly to the receptionist. "He's in room 3 being treated," the employee informed her. Amanda ran down the hallway and stopped abruptly at the door of room 3. Through the glass, she saw Ethan lying on the gurney, connected to some machines, and next to him was Jasmine, the nurse she had humiliated weeks before. Jasmine was talking softly to Ethan, holding his little hand and making funny faces that drew shy smiles from the boy. Even with all the equipment around, Ethan seemed relaxed in her presence. Amanda entered the room, and Jasmine turned, recognizing her immediately. For a moment, an awkwardness hung in the air. "How is he?" asked Amanda, trying to maintain her composure. "His vital signs are stable. Dr. Mitchell has ordered some tests to better investigate these recurring episodes," Jasmine explained professionally. "Mommy!" Ethan perked up when he saw her. "Aunt Jasmine was telling me a story about a Rapids player who plays soccer." Amanda forced a smile, but was clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Jasmine sensed the tension and decided to step away. "I'll get Dr. Mitchell to talk with you," she said, leaving the room. "Ethan, were you feeling anything different before you fainted?" asked Amanda, sitting next to the gurney. "I was sweating a lot and my heart was beating really fast. Then Aunt Jasmine taught me a song to calm my heart," told Ethan. "A song?" Amanda became interested in spite of herself. "It goes like this." Ethan began to hum quietly, a simple, repetitive melody that Jasmine had taught him. Dr. Mitchell entered the room accompanied by Jasmine, bringing the test results. "The physical exams are normal, but the episodes are getting more intense," explained the doctor. "We need to better understand the triggers." "Triggers?" repeated Amanda. "Situations that cause stress or anxiety for Ethan. It could be something at school, at home, changes in routine," clarified Dr. Mitchell. Amanda felt a discomfort growing. She didn't want to admit there could be something wrong with the environment she provided for her son. Nurse Jasmine mentioned that Ethan responds well to relaxation techniques. "Perhaps it would be good to teach him a few more strategies," suggested the doctor. Jasmine was surprised to be mentioned, but kept a neutral expression. Amanda glanced at her, remembering the previous scene. "Ethan can be discharged today, but I'll schedule an appointment with our child psychologist for next week," said Dr. Mitchell. "Doctor, I'd prefer to continue with his private pediatrician," argued Amanda. "I understand, but our psychologist, Dr. Jennifer, is a specialist in childhood anxiety. It would be a valuable second opinion," the doctor insisted gently. While they were talking, Ethan was watching Jasmine, who was silently organizing the equipment. He made a discreet signal for her to come closer. "Aunt Jasmine, can you teach more songs to my mom?" he whispered. Jasmine smiled affectionately and looked at Amanda, who was listening to the doctor's instructions. "If your mother wants, I can teach her, yes," she answered quietly. Ethan nodded excitedly and called Amanda. "Mom, can Aunt Jasmine teach more songs to calm the heart?" he asked innocently. Amanda turned around, clearly uncomfortable with the request. The silence grew heavy in the room until Dr. Mitchell intervened. "Nurse Jasmine has a lot of experience with anxious children. Perhaps she could share some simple techniques for you to use at home," he suggested. Amanda found herself in a delicate situation. Refusing in front of the doctor and her son would be awkward, but accepting help from the nurse she had humiliated was difficult for her pride. "If it's quick," she agreed reluctantly. Jasmine approached and, speaking mainly to Ethan, began to teach simple breathing and relaxation techniques. She explained how to identify the signs of anxiety and what to do when they appeared. "When you feel your heart racing, you can put your hand on your chest and breathe slowly, counting to 5, she demonstrated. "And that song I taught you can help too." Ethan paid full attention, practicing each movement. Amanda watched, involuntarily impressed with Jasmine's patience and knowledge. "Mom, will you try too?" asked Ethan. Amanda hesitated, but ended up participating in the exercise. For a few minutes, she followed Jasmine's instructions, breathing slowly and repeating the calming melody. "It's important that you practice together at home," instructed Jasmine. "When a child sees their parents doing it too, they feel safer using the techniques." "Thank you, Aunt Jasmine," said Ethan, hugging the nurse. Jasmine returned the hug affectionately and looked at Amanda. "If you have any questions, I'll be here," she said simply. Amanda nodded briefly and began to gather Ethan's things to leave. On the way home, she was quieter than usual, processing what had happened. "Mom, did you like Aunt Jasmine's songs?" asked Ethan from the back seat. "They were useful," Amanda admitted reluctantly. "She's nice, isn't she? Why were you mad at her the other day?" Ethan's direct question caught her off guard again. Amanda didn't know how to explain to a child that her pride and stress had made her react poorly. "Sometimes adults get upset for no reason," she said, choosing her words carefully. "My teacher said that when we make mistakes, we have to apologize," Ethan commented innocently. Amanda felt her chest tighten. Her son's simple wisdom was stirring up issues she'd rather not face. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, Amanda found herself thinking about Nurse Jasmine. The way she had treated Ethan with genuine kindness, even after the humiliation she'd suffered, impressed her. Few people would have maintained professionalism and kindness in that situation. She tried to work, but couldn't concentrate. The breathing techniques Jasmine had taught came back to her mind. Almost without realizing it, Amanda began practicing the exercises, feeling an unusual calm. It was then that her phone rang. It was Mr. Richard, her lawyer. "Amanda, about that complaint against the hospital nurse. I've prepared the documents, but I need more details about what exactly happened," he said. Amanda hesitated. After what she had witnessed today, the idea of suing Jasmine seemed even more absurd. "Richard, let it go," she said finally. "Are you sure? You were quite determined when you called me," insisted the lawyer. "I changed my mind. It wasn't as serious as I thought," she replied, ending the matter. After hanging up, Amanda poured herself a glass of wine and went out to the balcony. The night was cool and she needed fresh air to think. For the first time in a long while, she was questioning her own behavior. In the following days, Ethan seemed more stable. He practiced the breathing techniques and hummed the song Jasmine had taught him. Amanda watched discreetly, noticing how these simple tools seemed to help him. At the company, however, things weren't going well. An important client had cancelled a large contract, citing dissatisfaction with the quality of service. Amanda was becoming increasingly stressed and irritable with the employees. "Mrs. Parker, could you review our presentation for next week's client?" asked Derek, the project manager. "Isn't it obvious that it's bad? Can't you do anything right without me babysitting?" she exploded, making the entire office fall silent. Derek lowered his head, embarrassed. He had been a dedicated employee for 3 years, but lately Amanda had become impossible to deal with. Amanda noticed the silence in the office and realized how she had sounded. The scene vaguely reminded her of something, but she quickly pushed the thought away. "Sorry, Derek, it's been a tough week," she said, trying to soften her tone. "No problem, Mrs. Parker. I'll rework the presentation," he replied politely, but Amanda noticed the discomfort in his voice. That afternoon, Amanda went to pick up Ethan from school, and the principal asked to speak with her. "Mrs. Parker, Ethan had another episode today, but this time he managed to calm himself down using some breathing techniques," reported Principal Thompson. "It was impressive how quickly he recovered." "That's good," said Amanda, feeling a strange pang of pride mixed with something undefined. "He mentioned he learned it from a nurse. Are you getting psychological counseling?" asked the principal. "Not exactly." Amanda hesitated. "They were just some techniques he learned at the hospital." "Well, whatever it is, it's working." "Ethan seems more confident in handling his anxiety," the principal observed. On the way home, Ethan was excitedly telling how he had used Howard's breathing when he got nervous during a math test. "It worked, Mom. I managed to finish the test without being scared," he said proudly. Amanda smiled, but inside she felt a confusing mix of emotions. She was happy about her son's progress, but bothered that the solution had come from someone she had treated poorly. That night, while helping Ethan with his homework, she noticed he was calmer and more focused than he had been in months. The anxiety attacks were decreasing, and he seemed more self-assured. "Ethan, do you like that nurse from the hospital?" she asked suddenly. "I do. She's nice and teaches me things that help," he replied naturally. "Why, Mom?" "Just curious," said Amanda, returning to help him with his English exercises. But it wasn't just curiosity. Amanda was beginning to realize she had judged Jasmine too quickly and unfairly. The nurse hadn't just done her job. She had genuinely cared about Ethan's well-being. A week later, on a Monday morning, Amanda was at the office when she received a call that would change everything. It was from Ethan's school. "Mrs. Parker, I need you to come here urgently. Ethan had a very severe episode and isn't responding to the usual techniques," said the principal in a worried voice. Amanda's blood ran cold. She dropped everything and rushed to the school, finding Ethan in the principal's office, pale and shaking uncontrollably. He was hyperventilating and didn't seem to recognize anyone around him. "What happened?" asked Amanda desperately. "He was fine during class, but when the science test started, he had a complete panic attack," explained the teacher. "We tried the breathing techniques, but they didn't work this time." Amanda approached Ethan, but he seemed to be in another world, mumbling incomprehensible things and rocking back and forth. "Ethan, it's me, your mum," she said, trying to touch him, but he flinched. "I think it's best to take him to the hospital," suggested the principal. "This episode is different from the others." Amanda picked up Ethan, even as he resisted, and took him to the car. The whole way to Mercy General Hospital, he remained in a state of panic, repeating disjointed phrases about tests and grades. Arriving at the hospital, Amanda rushed with Ethan to the emergency room. The receptionist recognized her and immediately called the medical team. "He had an episode at school and isn't responding to anything," Amanda explained to the first nurse who appeared. "Let's take him to the emergency room," said the nurse, grabbing a gurney. As they transferred Ethan to the gurney, he began screaming Jasmine's name. "I want Aunt Jasmine! Where's Aunt Jasmine?" he cried desperately. The nurse looked at Amanda questioningly. "Jasmine Williams, she works here," Amanda said quickly. "Please call her." "I'll check if she's on shift," said the nurse, running off. Ethan was taken to a room where several professionals tried to calm him, but he kept screaming for Jasmine. Amanda was desperate, seeing her son in that state and feeling completely helpless. It was then that Jasmine appeared at the door of the room, still wearing her uniform from the previous shift. She had been called at home because she was off duty, but came immediately. "Ethan, I'm here," she said in a soft voice, approaching the gurney. The boy stopped screaming instantly upon seeing Jasmine, his eyes fixed on her as if she were the only anchor in the chaos. "Aunt Jasmine," he whispered, extending his little hand. Jasmine gently held his hand and began humming the calming song she had taught him. Gradually, Ethan's breathing returned to normal. "I'm scared," he murmured. "I know, champ. But you're strong, and you'll be fine," said Jasmine, stroking his hair. "Let's breathe together like Howard does, remember?" Amanda watched the scene from a corner of the room, moved and yet ashamed. Jasmine had left her break to come help her son, even after everything that had happened. Within minutes, Ethan was visibly calmer. Jasmine kept talking to him about light subjects, distracting him while the doctors did the necessary exams. "Why did you come, Aunt Jasmine?" asked Ethan. "Because you're my special patient and I care about you," she answered sincerely. Amanda felt her eyes fill with tears. It wasn't just professionalism, it was genuine care. Dr. Mitchell entered the room and spoke briefly with Jasmine about Ethan's condition. Then he turned to Amanda. "The episodes are developing into a more serious condition. I need to refer him to a child psychiatrist urgently," he said. "But he was doing better with Jasmine's techniques," argued Amanda. "The techniques help a lot, but Ethan needs specialized follow-up. What happened today was a severe panic episode," explained the doctor. Jasmine discreetly approached Amanda. "May I speak with you for a moment?" she asked. Amanda nodded, and they stepped out into the hallway. Jasmine took a deep breath before speaking. "Mrs. Parker, I know we had a misunderstanding before, but I need to talk about Ethan," she said carefully. "Go ahead," replied Amanda, genuinely interested. "He's suffering a lot inside. During our sessions, he mentions pressure about grades, fear of disappointing, excessive worry about approval," explained Jasmine. "These are signs of severe performance anxiety." Amanda felt her chest tighten. She had always demanded a lot from Ethan academically, thinking it was for his own good. "But I only want what's best for him," she said defensively. "I understand, but sometimes our idea of what's best may be causing suffering without us realizing it," replied Jasmine gently. "Ethan is a brilliant child, but he also needs space to be a child." Jasmine's words echoed in Amanda's mind. She began to remember situations where she had been overly critical of Ethan, always expecting perfection. I didn't know I was hurting him," admitted Amanda, her voice choked. "You're not intentionally hurting him. We all want to protect our children, but sometimes we end up overprotecting or demanding too much," said Jasmine understandingly. Amanda felt tears begin to stream down her face. It was the first time in a long time that someone had spoken to her about motherhood without judgment, only with understanding. "I don't know how to do it differently," she confessed. "Since the divorce, I feel like I need to be perfect at everything to make up for it." Jasmine gently placed her hand on Amanda's shoulder. "There's no such thing as a perfect mother. There are mothers who care and try their best. And that's what you are," she said sincerely. "After the way I treated you, you're still helping me." "Why?" asked Amanda, looking into Jasmine's eyes. "Because my job is to care for people, and that includes my patients' families," replied Jasmine. "And because I understand that sometimes we act badly when we're suffering." Amanda was touched by Jasmine's generosity. It was a lesson in humanity she hadn't expected to receive. "Jasmine, I need to apologize. What I did was awful and unfair," said Amanda sincerely. "I accept your apology," replied Jasmine simply. "Now let's focus on what's important, helping Ethan." They returned to the room where Ethan was calmer, talking with a child psychiatrist who had arrived. Dr. William Cooper was an experienced man, known for his humanized approach. "Ethan told me about his concerns with school and grades," said Dr. William to Amanda. "We'll work together to reduce this pressure he's feeling." "Doctor, I always thought that pushing him was showing that I care," said Amanda honestly. "And you do care. That's obvious," reassured the psychiatrist. "But let's learn healthier ways to show this care." Jasmine remained in the room throughout the appointment, offering support to both Ethan and Amanda. She explained the techniques she had taught and how they could be integrated into the treatment. "Nurse Jasmine did an excellent job teaching coping strategies to Ethan," praised Dr. William. "This will greatly facilitate the therapeutic process." Ethan, who was lying on the examination table, called Amanda and Jasmine closer. "Mom, can you and Aunt Jasmine be friends?" he asked innocently. Amanda looked at Jasmine, who smiled gently. "If she wants to, of course," replied Amanda. "I'd love to," said Jasmine sincerely. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing." Ethan smiled, seeming relieved. For him, having the two most important people in his life getting along meant security and stability. After a few hours, Ethan was discharged with a prescription for mild medication and a schedule of appointments with Dr. William. Amanda felt emotionally exhausted, but also more hopeful than she had felt in months. Leaving the hospital, she turned to Jasmine. "Jasmine, I'd like to talk more with you about how to help Ethan. Would you have coffee with me tomorrow?" she asked hesitantly. "Of course, I finish my shift at 3 p.m., replied Jasmine. "Great, my treat," said Amanda, trying to smile. "You don't need to pay for anything, we just need to talk," said Jasmine affectionately. On the way home, Ethan was quiet, processing everything that had happened. Amanda drove thoughtfully, reflecting on the words of Jasmine and the psychiatrist. "Mum, are you not going to yell at me anymore when I make a mistake?" asked Ethan suddenly. The question broke Amanda's heart. She pulled the car over in a safe spot and turned to look at her son. "Ethan, I'm so sorry for yelling at you. That was wrong of me," she said with tears in her eyes. "I promise I will try to be more patient." "Do you really promise?" he insisted. "I promise. And if I forget, you can remind me, okay?" she said, holding his little hand. Ethan nodded, seeming more relieved. For the rest of the drive, they talked about light things, and Amanda realized how long it had been since she'd had a relaxed conversation with her son. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, Amanda sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea instead of her usual glass of wine. She was reflecting on everything she had discovered about herself that day. She picked up her phone and looked for the number of her sister, Jessica, who lived in Chicago. They hadn't spoken in months due to family fights. "Amanda, is something wrong?" answered Jessica, surprised. "Jess, I need to talk to someone. Do you have a little time?" said Amanda, her voice tired. "Of course, what's going on?" Amanda told her everything about Ethan's episodes, about Jasmine, about her own realizations. Jessica listened patiently, without interrupting. "Amanda, you've always been very hard on yourself and everyone around you," said Jessica at the end. "Ever since Dad died, you felt you had to be too strong." "I just didn't want Ethan to go without anything," justified Amanda. But he doesn't need perfection. He needs affection and understanding, pondered Jessica. This nurse seems to have understood that better than we have. It's true. Jasmine has a wisdom that I don't have, admitted Amanda. Then learn from her. There's no shame in that, her sister advised. After the conversation with Jessica, Amanda felt lighter. It was as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She realized she had isolated herself from everyone who could have helped her, trying to handle everything alone. The next day, Amanda arrived early at the office and called Derek for a talk. "Derek, I want to apologize for how I've been treating you and the team lately," she said sincerely. "I'm going through some personal problems, but that doesn't justify my behavior." Derek seemed surprised but grateful. "Thank you, Mrs. Parker. We understand everyone goes through tough times," he replied. "I'll try to be a better boss. If I overstep again, please let me know, okay?" she asked. For the rest of the day, Amanda noticed how the atmosphere in the office improved. The employees seemed more relaxed and productive when she wasn't constantly irritated. At 3:30 p.m., she was sitting at a coffee shop near the hospital, waiting for Jasmine. She was nervous, not knowing exactly what to say or how to start the conversation. Jasmine arrived punctually, still in her hospital uniform and looking tired from her shift. "Hi, Amanda. Sorry I'm late, we had an emergency at the end of the shift," she said, sitting at the table. "I can imagine. Thank you for coming even though you're tired." Amanda thanked her. They ordered coffee and sat in silence for a few moments until Amanda gathered the courage to speak. "Jasmine, I want to learn. I want to be a better mother to Ethan, but I don't know where to start," she said vulnerably. "You've already started, Amanda. Recognizing you need help is the first step," Jasmine replied kindly. "But how are you so patient with children? How do you always know what to do?" asked Amanda. Jasmine smiled sadly. "I don't always know. But I've learned that children need to feel safe and accepted above all else," she explained. "When Ethan first arrived at the hospital, I saw a frightened boy who needed affection, not judgment. And I only thought about efficiency and speed," admitted Amanda. "Because you were scared too. Scared mothers sometimes react with aggression to protect their children," observed Jasmine understandingly. "How do you understand so much about people?" asked Amanda, genuinely curious. Jasmine hesitated a moment before answering. "I grew up in a complicated family. My mother had severe depression and my father, well, he wasn't very present," she shared. "I learned early that kind words can heal wounds that medicine can't reach." Amanda felt touched by Jasmine's trust in sharing something so personal. "I'm sorry, I didn't know," she said. "No need to apologize. Everyone has their own story," replied Jasmine. "The important thing is to learn from it." "And you learned. You became an amazing person," Amanda praised sincerely. "I'm still learning every day," said Jasmine modestly. "And you can learn too." They talked for over an hour about techniques for dealing with childhood anxiety, about communicating with children, about patience and understanding. Jasmine shared practical strategies she had learned both in her professional training and personal experience. "One important thing is to validate Ethan's feelings, even when they seem exaggerated to us," advised Jasmine. "To him, the fear is real and intense." "I always tried to convince him there was no reason to be afraid," realized Amanda. "That might make him feel misunderstood. It's better to say something like, 'I understand you're scared. Let's figure out together how to overcome this,'" suggested Jasmine. Amanda mentally noted each tip, determined to change her approach with Ethan. "Jasmine, can I ask a personal question?" said Amanda hesitantly. "Of course. Do you have children?" Jasmine smiled melancholically. "I don't. I haven't found the right person yet, and life hasn't allowed it," she replied. "But I take care of many children here at the hospital. They kind of fill that void." "Ethan was lucky to find you," said Amanda sincerely. "I was also lucky to meet him. He taught me a lot about courage," replied Jasmine. When they said goodbye, Amanda felt renewed. For the first time in a long while, she had genuine hope that things could get better. At home, Ethan was doing homework with his nanny, Mrs. Jenkins, a 60-year-old lady who'd been working with the family for 2 years. "How is he, Mrs. Jenkins?" asked Amanda. "Calmer today. He even taught me some strange breathing exercises," replied the nanny with a smile. Said he learned it from an aunt at the hospital. Amanda smiled, realizing how Jasmine was positively influencing Ethan. "Ethan, can I help you with your homework?" she offered. "Yes, Mom," he replied excitedly. Amanda sat next to her son and, remembering her conversations with Jasmine, tried a different approach. Instead of focusing on mistakes, she praised the correct answers. Instead of pushing for speed, she let him think at his own pace. "Mom, you're different today," observed Ethan. "Different how?" she asked. "More cool," he said, making Amanda laugh. "I'm trying to be a better mom," she admitted. "You're already a good mom. You were just very worried," said Ethan with the innocent wisdom of children. Amanda felt her eyes fill with tears. She hugged her son tenderly, promising herself she would keep trying to improve. In the following days, the family's routine began to change gradually. Amanda implemented some of Jasmine's suggestions: moments of non-judgmental conversation, relaxing activities before bed, praise for effort and not just results. Ethan began to show significant improvement. His anxiety episodes decreased, and he seemed more communicative and happy. The change wasn't immediate, but it was consistent. At the company, Amanda also applied some lessons she had learned. She became more patient with the employees and started focusing on solutions instead of just pointing out problems. The work environment improved noticeably. A week later, during an appointment with Dr. William, Ethan showed impressive progress. "His development has been excellent," the psychiatrist told Amanda. "The changes in the family environment are making all the difference. I've been relying on the help of Nurse Jasmine. She taught me a lot about patience," admitted Amanda. "The partnership between family and medical team is key to the success of the treatment," confirmed Dr. William. Ethan, who was drawing in the room, looked up. "Dr. William, can I make a drawing for Aunt Jasmine?" he asked. "Of course, Ethan, she will be happy," replied the psychiatrist. Ethan focused on making a drawing that showed him, Amanda and Jasmine holding hands, with hearts all around. At the top, he wrote in crooked letters, "Thank you, Aunt Jasmine." Amanda was moved seeing the drawing. It was evident how much affection Ethan felt for Jasmine and how important she had become in their lives. "Mom, can you take this drawing to Aunt Jasmine?" asked Ethan. "Of course, sweetheart. She'll take it today," promised Amanda. That afternoon, Amanda went to the hospital to deliver the drawing. Jasmine was attending to other patients but took a break to receive the visit. "Ethan made this for you," said Amanda, handing over the paper. Jasmine looked at the drawing and smiled emotionally. "He is very special," she said, carefully putting the drawing in her pocket. "Jasmine, I'd like to invite you," said Amanda nervously. "What kind of invitation?" "Ethan is turning 9 next week. We would really like you to come to the party," said Amanda sincerely. Jasmine looked surprised and touched. "Amanda, that is so kind, but please, it would be very important for Ethan, and for me too," insisted Amanda. "If you're sure, I'd love to come," accepted Jasmine, smiling. "I'm sure. Ethan will be thrilled," said Amanda happily. Ethan's birthday party was small, with just a few school friends, close family, and Jasmine. The boy was overjoyed to see the nurse arriving with a present. "Aunt Jasmine, you came!" he shouted, running to hug her. "I wouldn't miss your birthday for anything," she said, returning the hug warmly. During the party, Amanda watched how Jasmine interacted naturally with the other children and how the adults seemed comfortable in her presence. She had a special gift for making people feel at ease. Jessica, Amanda's sister, had come from Chicago, especially for her nephew's birthday. She took a moment to talk to Jasmine. "So you're the famous nurse who transformed my sister," joked Jessica. "Your sister transformed herself." "I just offered a different perspective," replied Jasmine modestly. "Amanda told me everything. You're a very special person," said Jessica sincerely. "Thank you. Ethan and Amanda are special too. It was a privilege to meet them," replied Jasmine. When it was time to cut the cake, Ethan insisted that Jasmine stand by his side along with Amanda, the 3 most important people in his life together, as he had always wished. "Make a wish, champ," said Amanda, helping him hold the knife. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut and blew out the candles. When he opened his eyes, he looked at Amanda and Jasmine. "I wished for you two to always be friends," he said innocently. Amanda and Jasmine looked at each other and smiled. "I think that wish has already come true," said Jasmine, gently touching Amanda's shoulder. The party was a success. Ethan was visibly happy and relaxed, playing with his friends without any signs of anxiety. Amanda noticed how much he had changed in recent weeks. When the guests started to leave, Jasmine approached Amanda to say goodbye. "Thank you for including me in the party. It was very special," she said. "Thank you for being part of Ethan's life." "And mine too," replied Amanda emotionally. "Amanda, can I tell you something?" said Jasmine hesitantly. "Of course. You've become exactly the mother Ethan needed." "I'm very proud of your transformation," said Jasmine sincerely. Amanda felt tears in her eyes. Jasmine's recognition meant a lot to her. "I couldn't have done it without your help and patience," admitted Amanda. "Yes, you could. You always had love for Ethan. You just needed to learn to show it in a gentler way," said Jasmine affectionately. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, happy and exhausted from the party, Amanda sat in the living room, thinking about all that had changed in their lives. From an embarrassing and angry situation, she had found a true friendship and learned valuable lessons about motherhood and humanity. In the following weeks, the friendship between Amanda and Jasmine grew stronger. They met regularly for coffee, and Jasmine became a constant presence in the family's life. Ethan continued his treatment with Dr. William, but his anxiety attacks practically disappeared. Amanda's company also prospered with her new leadership approach. The employees were more motivated and productive, and new clients started coming through referrals. One day, 3 months after Ethan's birthday, Amanda received an unexpected phone call. It was the hospital director. "Mrs. Parker, I'm Dr. Christine, Director of Mercy General Hospital. May I speak with you for a few minutes?" "Of course." "Did something happen to Nurse Jasmine?" asked Amanda worriedly. "No, nothing happened. Actually, that's what I want to talk to you about. The Nurse Jasmine was nominated for the hospital's Professional of the Year award, and one of the recommendation letters came from you," explained the principal. Amanda was confused. "I'm sorry, but I didn't write any letter," she said. "The letter was signed by Ethan Parker, who is 9 years old. He wrote about how Nurse Jasmine saved his life and taught his mother to be more caring," shared the principal, clearly moved. Amanda smiled, imagining Ethan secretly writing the letter. "That boy," she murmured affectionately. "The award ceremony will be next week. We would like to invite you both to attend, as you were instrumental in the nomination," said the principal. "It would be an honor to be there." Amanda immediately accepted. On the day of the ceremony, Amanda and Ethan arrived at the hospital auditorium dressed elegantly. Jasmine didn't know they would be there, thinking it was just a routine ceremony. When her name was called as the winner of the Professional of the Year award, Jasmine went up to the stage clearly surprised. The presenter began to read some excerpts from the recommendation letter. "Aunt Jasmine not only took care of me when I was sick, but also taught my mom to be more caring. Before she used to yell a lot, but now she hugs me when I'm sad," read the presenter. Jasmine scanned the auditorium and saw Amanda and Ethan smiling at her. Her eyes filled with emotional tears. "My mom was a very tough person, but Aunt Jasmine showed that we can be kind even when we're worried. Now our family is happier." The reading continued. The auditorium was silent, touched by the innocence and sincerity of Ethan's words. "I think Aunt Jasmine deserves this award because she doesn't just take care of people's bodies, she takes care of their hearts too. Thank you for saving my family," concluded the presenter. When Jasmine went to receive the trophy, she couldn't hold back her tears. In her acceptance speech, she looked directly at Amanda and Ethan. "This award represents much more than professional recognition. It represents proof that small gestures of care can transform lives," she said with an emotional voice. "Ethan and Amanda taught me that healing goes far beyond medical procedures. It involves understanding, patience, and genuine love." She paused, trying to control her emotions. "I used to think my job was just to take care of patients, but they showed me that I also need to care for families, because healing happens when everyone is involved in the process," Jasmine continued. The auditorium applauded enthusiastically. Amanda was openly crying, proud of her friend and touched by her words. I want to dedicate this award to all the families going through difficult times and finding strength to transform, and especially to Ethan, who taught me that a child's honesty can move mountains, Jasmine concluded. After the ceremony, they met in the hospital hallway. Ethan ran to hug Jasmine. "Aunt Jasmine, did you like the surprise?" he asked excitedly. "It was the best surprise of my life, champ," she replied, hugging him tightly. "Ethan, did you write that letter all by yourself?" asked Amanda, impressed. "I did. I asked Mrs. Jenkins for help with some hard words, but the ideas were mine," he said proudly. "Why did you do it?" Amanda wanted to know. "Because Aunt Jasmine deserved it. She made our family happy again," Ethan replied naturally. Jasmine approached Amanda. "Thank you for raising a boy with such a generous heart," she said emotionally. "I should thank you for teaching me to be the mother he needed," replied Amanda, hugging her friend. At that moment, the three hugged together, symbolizing the non-traditional but deeply loving family they had formed. Months passed, and the Parker family's life continued on a positive trajectory. Ethan was completely adjusted to school, making new friends and showing confidence in himself. His grades improved not because Amanda pressured him, but because he felt motivated to learn. Amanda, in turn, found a balance between being a present mother and a successful businesswoman. Her company grew significantly, and she became recognized in the market not only for the quality of her services, but also for the humane way she treated employees and clients. Jasmine continued her work at the hospital, but now with even more passion and purpose. The story of her personal and professional transformation through the Parker family had spread, inspiring other healthcare professionals to adopt more humanized approaches. On a Saturday afternoon, 6 months after the award ceremony, Amanda, Ethan, and Jasmine were at the park enjoying a picnic. Ethan was playing with other children while the two women talked. "Jasmine, can I tell you something I've never told anyone?" Amanda said suddenly. "Of course, I'm all ears," replied Jasmine, interested. "That first day at the hospital when I yelled at you, I was afraid you'd find out I didn't know how to be a mother," Amanda admitted vulnerably. "What do you mean?" "Since Ethan was born, I felt like I was pretending to know what to do. The divorce made everything worse. I thought by being strict and demanding I was protecting him," Amanda explained. "When I saw how natural and caring you were with him, I felt threatened." Jasmine listened attentively, finally understanding the root of Amanda's initial aggressive behavior. "You weren't pretending, Amanda. Motherhood is a constant learning process. No one is born knowing," Jasmine said gently. "And Ethan always knew he was loved, even when you didn't know how to show it." "How can you be so sure?" asked Amanda. "Because in moments of crisis, he always called for you first. Then for me," Jasmine smiled. "That shows that despite all the difficulties, you were his safe base." Amanda felt comforted by her friend's words. It was reassuring to know that despite her mistakes, she had never lost the connection with her son. "Jasmine, have you ever thought about having children of your own?" Amanda asked carefully. Jasmine sighed, watching Ethan play in the distance. "I've thought about it a lot, but life has taken me down other paths," she replied. "Maybe my purpose is to care for other people's children, like I cared for Ethan." "You would be an amazing mother," Amanda said sincerely. "And you became an amazing mother. Sometimes life teaches us through unexpected paths," Jasmine replied philosophically. Ethan ran up to them, interrupting the conversation. "Mom, Aunt Jasmine, did you see? I helped a boy who fell off the slide," he said excitedly. "That's wonderful, Ethan," praised Amanda. "How did you help?" "I taught him Howard's breathing to stop him from crying, and it worked," said Ethan proudly. Jasmine and Amanda looked at each other, moved. Ethan was passing on the teachings of compassion and care that he had learned. "You're becoming a very generous boy," said Jasmine, hugging him. "I learned from you," Ethan replied simply. At that moment, Amanda realized that the transformation in her family was complete. They weren't just different people, they were better people. And it had all started with a seemingly negative situation that turned into the greatest blessing of their lives. When they returned home that afternoon, Amanda reflected on the entire journey they had taken. From an arrogant businesswoman and a lost mother, she had become a wiser, more compassionate and fulfilled person. Ethan had overcome his anxiety, and developed emotional skills that would stay with him for life. And Jasmine, who had been publicly humiliated for doing her job with love and dedication, had been recognized and awarded. But more importantly, she had gained a family that loved her unconditionally. That night, while helping Ethan get ready for bed, Amanda remembered a question he had asked months earlier. "Ethan, remember when you asked me why I yelled at Aunt Jasmine?" she said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I remember," he replied, paying attention. "Do you want to know the real answer?" she asked. "I do. I yelled because I was scared and didn't know how to show that I cared about you," Amanda explained honestly. "Aunt Jasmine taught me that there are better ways to show love." "And now you know?" asked Ethan innocently. "I'm learning every day, just like you're learning to be brave and kind," she replied, kissing his forehead. "Mom, I'm happy that Aunt Jasmine taught us to be a happier family," said Ethan sleepily. "Me too, sweetheart." "Me too," murmured Amanda, turning off the light. A few days later, Amanda was at the office when she received an unexpected call. It was from a non-governmental organization that worked with families in vulnerable situations. "Mrs. Parker, we heard through Mercy General Hospital about the work you developed with Nurse Jasmine. We would like to invite you both for a special project," explained the NGO coordinator. "What kind of project?" asked Amanda, curious. "We're developing a support program for mothers who face difficulties in their relationship with anxious children. We need people who have lived through this experience and managed to overcome it," detailed the coordinator. Amanda was interested. The idea of helping other families using her own experience excited her. "I'll talk to Jasmine and give you an answer soon," she said. That afternoon, Amanda called Jasmine and told her about the invitation. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think it's an amazing opportunity to turn our experience into something useful for other people," replied Jasmine enthusiastically. "We can form an unlikely but effective duo." "Unlikely duo how?" laughed Amanda. "The businesswoman who learned humility and the nurse who gained a family," joked Jasmine. They accepted the invitation and began working voluntarily on the project. The program consisted of weekly meetings where mothers shared their difficulties and learned practical strategies to deal with childhood anxiety. Amanda shared her experience as a mother who had gone through a transformation, while Jasmine offered technical knowledge and anxiety management techniques. The combination of the two perspectives proved extremely effective. Ethan also participated occasionally, telling other children how he had overcome his crises and teaching the breathing techniques Jasmine had shown him. The project was an immediate success. Several families reported significant improvements in their family dynamics, and the program began to be replicated in other neighborhoods of the city. In one of the sessions, a mother named Karen told her story. She had lost patience with her son several times and felt guilty and lost. "I don't know what to do anymore. My son is afraid of everything and I feel desperate," vented Karen, crying. Amanda completely identified with the account. "Karen, I understand exactly how you feel. A year ago I was in your place," said Amanda affectionately. "The difference is that now I know we're not alone on this journey." "But how did you manage to change?" asked another mother in the group. "By accepting help and admitting that we didn't know everything," replied Amanda honestly. "Jasmine taught me that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of love for our children." Jasmine added, "And it's important to remember that change takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Patience with yourselves is essential." After several months working on the project, Amanda received unexpected recognition. The Denver City Council decided to honor her as a meritorious citizen for her services to the community. "Amanda, can you believe this?" said Jasmine when she heard the news. "From successful businesswoman to meritorious citizen for social work." "It's surreal," admitted Amanda. "A year ago I didn't even think about helping other people. I only thought about myself and my problems." "And now you're transforming lives," observed Jasmine proudly. "We're transforming lives," corrected Amanda. "This was only possible because you taught me the true meaning of caring." The award ceremony was emotional. Ethan was in the front row, beaming with pride for his mother. Jasmine was also a special guest, recognized as the project's co-creator. In her speech, Amanda looked at the audience and saw several families who had participated in the program. This recognition isn't just mine. It belongs to all the brave mothers and children who decided to transform themselves alongside me, she said emotionally. It belongs especially to Nurse Jasmine Williams, who taught me that true strength lies in kindness. She paused, searching for Jasmine in the audience. A year ago, I publicly humiliated this extraordinary woman because my pride wouldn't allow me to admit I needed help, Amanda continued. Today, she is my best friend and my greatest inspiration. Proof that mistakes can turn into the greatest blessings when we have the humility to learn. The audience rose in applause. Jasmine was visibly moved, as was Ethan, who couldn't contain his smile. I want to dedicate this honor to my son, Ethan, who taught me that courage sometimes means admitting we're wrong. And to Jasmine, who showed me that forgiveness and compassion can heal any wound, Amanda concluded. After the ceremony, there was a small reception. Ethan was surrounded by people praising his mother, but he made sure to give credit to Jasmine as well. Aunt Jasmine deserved a trophy too, he told anyone who would listen. She's the one who taught my mum to be nice. A local journalist approached to interview Amanda about her transformation. Mrs. Parker, what was the exact moment you realized you needed to change? Asked the reporter. Amanda thought for a moment. It was when I saw my son calling for a nurse instead of me during a panic attack, she answered honestly. I realized that my way of showing love was actually pushing him away. And what motivated you to create this social project? The certainty that other families were going through the same thing we went through. If our experience could help someone, then all the suffering would have been worth it, Amanda explained. What advice would you give to mothers facing similar difficulties? Amanda looked at Jasmine, who was talking with Ethan nearby. That they accept help, that they not be ashamed to admit when they don't know what to do, and most importantly, that they remember loving sometimes means swallowing your pride and learning from those who know more, she replied. The interview was published in the local newspaper and had a big impact. Several people got in touch wanting to participate in the project or offering support to expand it. 1 month after the ceremony, Amanda was at home making dinner when Ethan came home from school visibly excited. Mom, something really cool happened today, he said, dropping his backpack. What was it, sweetie? Asked Amanda, curious. A new boy joined the class and he was really nervous, so I taught him Aunt Jasmine's breathing exercises, and the teacher was impressed, Ethan said proudly. How wonderful, did it work? It worked. Now he wants to be my friend. And the teacher asked if Aunt Jasmine could come to school to teach all the students, said Ethan excitedly. Amanda smiled, imagining how happy Jasmine would be with the invitation. Let's call her and share the news, suggested Amanda. When Jasmine answered the phone and heard about the school's invitation, she was moved. Ethan, you're my best promoter, she joked. Of course I'll come to the school. It will be a pleasure to teach other children. Aunt Jasmine, can you teach the heart song too? Asked Ethan. I'll teach you everything you want, champ, she promised affectionately. Jasmine's talk at the school was an absolute success. Teachers, parents, and students were interested in the techniques, and she ended up being invited to speak at other schools in the area. What had started as an awkward situation at a hospital was turning into a movement of social transformation, touching the lives of hundreds of families. One evening, 6 months after the ceremony at the city council, Amanda was organizing photos on the computer when she found an old picture of her with Ethan. It was from 2 years ago, right after the divorce. In the photo, both looked tense and distant, even though they were side by side. Amanda remembered how lost and irritable she felt during that period, and how Ethan was already showing signs of anxiety. She searched for a recent photo and placed the two side by side on the screen. The difference was striking. In the current photo, taken at Ethan's last birthday, they were genuinely happy and relaxed. Jasmine was also in the picture, completing the scene of a family united by love and not by blood. What are you doing, Mom? Asked Ethan, appearing behind her. Comparing old photos with new ones, replied Amanda, showing him the screen. Ethan looked at the images carefully. We look happier now, he observed. Do you think we're happier? Asked Amanda. Definitely. Before you used to get angry and I used to be scared. Now we talk and have fun, said Ethan naturally. And do you miss how things were before? Amanda wanted to know. Ethan thought for a moment. No, I like how we are now better. And I like that Aunt Jasmine is part of our family, he replied sincerely. Amanda hugged her son, feeling grateful for the entire journey they had traveled together. Ethan, can I tell you a secret? She said softly. Sure. You made me a better person. Your generous heart taught me what really matters in life, Amanda confessed emotionally. And Aunt Jasmine taught you a lot too, reminded Ethan. That's true. I've been very lucky to have both of you in my life, agreed Amanda. Mom, do you think our story can help other families? Asked Ethan. It's already helping, my love. Every time you teach Aunt Jasmine's techniques to other children, you're spreading the good you've learned, replied Amanda. That's so cool. So our unhappy family turned into a family that helps other families? Asked Ethan, with the wise simplicity of children. Exactly. And all because we learned that asking for help and forgiving are ways of loving, summarized Amanda. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, Amanda called Jasmine. Jasmine, I'm calling just to say thank you, she said without preamble. Thank you for what? Laughed Jasmine on the other end of the line. For everything. For being patient with me when I didn't deserve it. For taking care of Ethan when I didn't know how. For teaching me that true strength is kindness, said Amanda emotionally. Amanda, you did the same for me, replied Jasmine gently. How so? You taught me that forgiveness is possible, that people can change, and that sometimes our worst moments lead us to the best places, explained Jasmine. Ethan and you gave me a family I never thought I'd have. Then we're even, joked Amanda, wiping away a tear. We are a family, Jasmine corrected lovingly. End of story. So what did you think of this transformation story? Have you ever been in situations where pride almost made you lose important people? Tell us in the comments how it went. And if you liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories like this one.